Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing well. So today's video is going to be all about increasing your FTP with minimal training time. And this is a problem I think so many people have issues with. So I've had a look back over all my training over the past 3 years, and I genuinely reckon on 3 key sessions per week, you can see some pretty exceptional results. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be able to get to world-class levels and you're going to be able to get your FTP up to 450 watts, no. But I certainly think that 99.99999% of people could absolutely smash and obliterate their current FTPs on just 3 structured training sessions, which I will cover now. I've excluded long, slow, easy, zone 2 rides within this. Now just hear me out the reason for this. You only have 3 sessions per week. You have 3.5 hours of training. Now when you're wanting to increase your FTP, you have to do work at and around that intensity. Otherwise your body is not acclimatized to the load and you're never going to be able to increase it. Zone 2 training is super important. It's paramount if you want to build a good aerobic base, a good endurance, a good engine. However, if your goal is purely, FTP, building that as much as you possibly can, then personally from my point of view, you're going to get much more benefit from hitting specific FTP builder type of sessions. So session number 1, and this is a specific VO2 max interval session, and I love this one. The key word here though is specific. It is tailored to building your FTP. It is hard, your legs are going to burn, and you're going to feel absolutely disgusting. It's meant to be like that. So don't get 2 intervals into your session and go, this is a bit hard, I don't want to do it. This is the purpose of the session. Now, this session is 2 to 3 minute intervals at 120% of your FTP repeated 7 or 8 times. It is going to be juicy. I mean juicy, juicy. It's one of those sessions where you're working above your FTP, so at 120%. You're probably going to get very minimal difference between working at from basically 105 to 120%. So you can sort of pick your choice between those two. Obviously, the lower down the percentage of your FTP, the lower the amount of fatigue, the better you're going to be able to recover. So actually, there's quite a high incentive to work at those lower percentages. Although I choose to work at 120% purely because when I then go back to my sort of FTP intervals, which I'll cover in a second, they feel much easier because it's proportionally a much lesser percentage of my sort of 100% max. This type of session is going to really help you build that top end power. It's going to get your body acclimatized to pushing hard. So session number 2, and this is a threshold specific session. This is going to really help you get used to pushing your threshold. It's going to get your body, again, used to and acclimatized to that type of load and to that type of intensity. So then when you go and do an FTP test, your body doesn't basically scream at you and go, holy shit, what is this? It's a really key session. With time, you'll find it's easier to hold your threshold and therefore, it's probably going to go up. For me, this session is 4 times 3 minutes at your FTP, within a 2-minute recovery at 87 to 90% of your FTP. So the recovery is not really a recovery. It's still going to be hard. You're basically doing, I was going to say over and unders. It's not over and unders. It's sort of at your FTP and then slightly under. So that's a 5-minute interval repeated 4 times. So you're spending 20 minutes in total at quite a high intensity. This is a great one to do, and I love this session. That's then repeated 2 times. So over the period of that entire session, you're spending 40 minutes at and just below your FTP. So it's like a good sort of top end threshold / tempo session. I love this. It's great. And I find you get real good results if you can sort of hit this session on a weekly basis. I find if you hit these sessions on a weekly basis, you can tell how you're progressing, because you can sort of compare how you're feeling to the week before. So it's a great way to make sure that you are happy with the progress you're seeing and you are getting ultimately higher, sort of better gains with your cycling. And finally, session number 3. This is 3 by 10 minutes. It's 87% of your FTP with 5-minute recoveries between each one. This session is far, far easier to execute. It's not particularly long. It's quick, it's easy, it's to the point. But again, you're just getting used to pushing some intensity. However, and now this is really important, it's going to be much lower fatigue because it's a lower intensity. You're spending less sort of continued time at that effort. And yeah, your body's going to recover far faster, which obviously means you can probably train more if you wanted to. However, you'll be watching this video because you've got minimal time, so you're probably not going to do that anyway. If you do have the extra time, what I tend to do is I will pop, well, not me, my coach will tend to pop in sort of a longer ride within this sort of tempo session. So it might be, it's 20 minutes easy into then a 10-minute tempo, 20 minutes easy into 10-minute tempo, 20 minutes easy into 10-minute tempo. So it gives you that ability to build an aerobic base and your sort of endurance engine while obviously trying to increase your FTP at the same time. So it almost gives you the best of both worlds, if that makes sense. So if you do have the time, popping a longer ride within a sort of a tempo session is great. That also gets you ready if you're racing sort of, longer bike races or 70.3 or Ironman races. It will get you used to sort of pushing these tempo efforts and then recovering and then pushing them. So it's not just short, quick and sweet. It's sort of replicating what it might be like when you're racing a 70.3 event. Although it does depend on what sort of how long you're going to be out there for to sort of how much intensity you're going to be able to give throughout that race, if that makes sense. So they're the 3 sessions for me that I would personally sort of rock and execute every single week if I was looking to build my FTP.